I think we shall get started here. First of all, I just want to thank everyone for engaging and supporting Operation Fresh Start. And like I said, really engaging in our vision that all youth are assets in our community. I want to kick it off now to Gregg Markle, Executive Director.
Thank you, Jody, and thank you for putting all of this together. This should be fun. I will admit that I'd probably rather speak before 200 people live in person than be on camera on a Zoom. So we will see how all of this goes, but I really appreciate everyone coming, everyone's dedication to our mission that youth have a path to self-sufficiency, and to our vision that youth are assets in our community. So in speaking to that, most of what we're going to be talking about is COVID and how it's affected our programming so far in the year and our steps going forward. But before we do that, there's other things happening in the world and in the community. And one thing that I wanted to share with you, or actually Ron Quell is going to share with you, is a message which our young people put together about the killing of George Floyd and the community response to it. So as an organization, we serve 70% young people of color, age 16 to 24, and a majority of them are African American. So Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter deeply to us, and engaging in this conversation as the community looks to move forward is going to be an important part of making sure that all young people do have that path to self-sufficiency. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Ron Quell to read the youth statement.
Okay, hello guys. Thanks for having me and things like that. So we believe George Floyd was murdered. The images are shocking, but what happened isn't new. More people know about things like this, but everyone has a camera in their pocket. So now it's visual. African Americans are tired of stuff like this happening, waking up, coming together, and marching. We can march, but that's not really gonna do a lot if it's just us. So we gotta come together in that. So if we come together, they're gonna hear us. So you feel me? We can't just hope, sit around and hope and think something's gonna change over the years when it starts with us. It's really us. It starts with us. Some of us have been involved in the protest. Some of us haven't, but we know what is going on, and there are huge differences between the protest and the looting and property damage that is happening. We don't approve of the looting, property damage. We have relatives and friends in the community where that has gotten so bad that the people are left with no stores. They can't even, we can't buy food. I didn't even think about that. You got that? That's crazy. Food, clothes. We don't want that to happen here. For those of us that have been through the protests, they are powerful, and it makes us feel better about how it is going. We have the voice. We have the voice and opportunity to use it. It is great to see everyone out there supporting and defending Black people. At Operation Fresh Start, we know that there are adults that have our backs and let us know that the community cares about us, our safety, and our future. Please keep caring and work for change.
Thank you, Ron Quell. So the youth via Zoom conversation sort of came together, and I'll put their thoughts into this. And if you're on Facebook, we've pushed it out there into the community, and there's interest in continuing that youth voice as we go forward, talking to youth here at Fresh Start about, what is the role of police in the community, and what is the role of each of us in keeping our communities safe, and how we can feel safe as well as be safe around law enforcement officers and others in the community. So it's an important message. Ron Quell, thanks for being part of that message and pushing it forward. Did you have anything to add?
Well, I think the whole statement, it's the whole situation that's happening around the world right now. And we the young people, the participants put it together. So it means a lot more because we actually did see changes. Like we came in Operation Fresh Start, one way, not probably assuming that nobody was gonna probably be behind us, and like the fact that the building like it's majority of like color participants that come in and having like the white staff, it's honestly great because you guys are always behind us. Like I'm not gonna lie, I came in the doors expecting like a whole totally different vibe, and like I think Operation Fresh Start for like situations just like this situation, kind of like it brings a light to us because we're like majority color and it's no discriminating. It's none of that. It's just like straight you guys and love. And the way Operation Fresh Start does it, I feel like if we like showed that to like the communities or we showed that to like a different organization, just we have majority people of color that come through this program and graduate from this program, and our staff help them do it. And they know, like deep down in my heart, I know I can come back to that building anytime I want to and come speak to at least one staff that taught me something that can like put something inside my head about that I'm a great person or something like that. So like in this time, I love how Operation Fresh Start is like here, and like you guys let us know like, yes, we're with you. We feel your pain, and we wanna be with you guys through this whole thing, and we don't wanna like let you guys down. We don't want to show you any type of weakness. We want to be like the strong shoulder for you guys in this situation. So like I would just say thank you for like all the staff that's been behind me, been behind all this like friends and people that came through the program. I thank you. Like that's a lot.
All right. Well, thanks, Franquel. That was really nice.
No problem.
We could be done right then. Now, many of you are here for an update, sort of where we are at through COVID and how we're going to try to move forward. It's been a difficult time. We're doing a lot of things virtually right now. Our best interactions are, shoulder to shoulder, hand in hand, and that's difficult, and it's going to be difficult for a time going forward. But just to sort of update you on where we're at, we are continuing to move the mission forward, and the organization started recognizing that there was inequity in the community, and that there's two ways of overcoming inequity. One is by openly, forwardly confronting that inequity in what we do and in our systems. And the other is making sure that each young person is able to overcome that inequity individually. And that's where a lot of our focus is on, is helping those young people so that they have the skills and ability and personal strength to overcome inequities, which they likely may face as they move forward. So the statement's really meaningful to me and to the organization because it does come from the youth, and it's the youth's voice. And this is an area where we can learn from our youth and learn their perspective and what their needs are in the community going forward. So I welcome you to continue to share this statement and continue to move it forward in our communities. So COVID hit. And perhaps you, like me, were hearing a little bit about it in January and February, and it was happening in China and all this stuff. But it came, and in early March, we shut down on-site programming. So we did this really for two reasons in how we were doing it. One was, as a community-based organization, we have a responsibility to help keep the community safe. And that's helping keep youth safe, that's helping keep staff safe, that's helping sort of mitigate the curve and changing the bend of the curve. And the other reason is, of course, either the county or the state or the federal government, or at that point, I think everyone was saying shut down. So we shut down. And we had to redo what we were doing, how we were doing things right away. Like many of you, we moved virtually. We engaged with our young people in a virtual setting. We started doing Google Classroom. We're on this cool sort of gaming type of interaction platform called Discord. So I'm feeling pretty cool. We're communicating through Zoom, all these things which wasn't part of Fresh Start are now. And I think going forward, it strengthens the organization to have different communication platforms. Our goal with the young people was, yes, to keep them safe from COVID, but also to recognize that they were going through a difficult challenge, a scary challenge, and a challenge where stay at home means something different to someone who has a nice house to go back to. Then, if you're a young person who's homeless or couch surfing or in a situation where parents might not be engaged in a positive way. So we worked really hard to keep that communication with our young people so that we can help them work through those situations. And those were really our main goals, was to lower that curve and make sure that our young people were safe through this. We're now in June, and I don't know if anyone else has heard if the county has decided we're in phase 2 or not. I think that's supposed to happen today. So what I'm going to present for you is sort of where we were and where we will be in phase 2, with the assumption that we're moving into phase 2. If we don't move into phase 2, then we will continue to be more in the where we were than in the phase 2 area. So how I'm going to do this is sort of look through the different programs that Operation Fresh Start has and just talk about the different programs and where they've been and where they're going to be at in phase 2 and how we can move forward with it. So Operation Fresh Start is an organization with many programs. You heard from Raquel, is a member of our legacy program. We also have the Strive program, which is for folks 18 to 24, sort of career-specific training and cohorts. Grad Crew is for young people who have been through Strive Construction or the Legacy program and really gets them up to speed for that union construction job. Options is engagement with young people 18 to 21 who haven't completed high school about what's their best path to finish high school and case management around that. And Drive is our newest program, which we piloted last year, but are really starting in earnest this year, which is focused on young people achieving a driver's license. So we'll start it off with Strive. So Strive, like I said, is a program specifically for career training in high impact industries or industries with needs and where our young people can achieve a living wage. We, in March, had a cohort which was going to start the Monday right when we shut down in-person programming. So we've worked hard to keep engaged with those young people. And the program is going to start on June 15th, which is great. We will continue to move forward. It's going to be a little bit smaller crew than previously. And much of that is to maintain that social distancing and allows still good education in those settings. So that's starting June 15th. A few things generally in the organization which we're doing around safety is within our overall building, if you come to our building, you'll be required to wear a mask. Individuals in their own offices can take their masks off, but in general areas, we're wearing masks. Along with wearing masks, we're helping people remember what that social distancing is, that 6 feet. On site, it's either a mask or 10 feet, just to try to keep people in that distance. We're doing a whole lot of cleaning. We got donated a whole bunch of hand sanitizer, which we're going to use both for cleaning and then also cleaning our vans and other things like that. So we're really focusing on that safety. So you'll hear that as we talk about Strive going forward, but also the other programming. So Strive Construction is starting June 15th. We're looking to start our Strive Healthcare session in September. We're working with MATC on how that's going to look, and MATC is looking at what they're going to look like come September. So that's the Strive program. Excuse me. As we look towards Grad Crew was totally shut down. It's actually started re-engaging this week. and it's doing hands-on construction. They go out as a crew to do construction. It's for folks who were in the legacy or a strive cohort who their path for a life, for a career, is construction. They know they want to go that direction. The Grad Crew is a fee-for-service construction company with a really bad business model where we engage young people for about 3 or 4 months with the whole goal of getting them up to speed so that they can achieve success in the construction world. And then we have them job shadow for a week on a Findorff construction site, and we tell Findorff to take them away and hire them. So either Findorff or one of their subcontractors generally hire them. So the neat thing about it is we've had young people go from homeless, go into the legacy program, and then into Grad Crew, into a job as an apprentice earning $40,000 a year with good benefits and a good path to the future. So it's re-engaged, again, social distancing. During the time which we were shut down even, we had a couple people actually hired for some good jobs, which is good. So we're actually rebuilding the crew right now. And we're looking for good things going forward. Construction is an industry, as most of you know, which didn't shut down. So there's actually a need for additional construction workers, and it seems to, at least this point, be an industry which isn't being affected as much economically as we go through this, at least in Madison. The Options Program is a program where we engage young people, age 18 to 21, who have not completed high school. So for whatever reason, they left high school before age 18, and they now have anywhere from 1 to 15 credits necessary to complete high school. We work with them in case management to help them figure out what their path is to complete high school. And one would be our legacy program here, but there's other paths available. Now this slide talks about online school or working through a mega school. So there's some other paths available. The important thing is that a young person has until age 21 to complete high school. After that, you can get a GED, which is a fine credential, but we know that a high school diploma is the single most required qualification for employment in Dane County. So a high school diploma is a step towards employment and also a step towards better paying employment. So Options has continued, largely virtual meetings, phone calls. It's generally a program which can work that way. So we've continued to see results through that program, and it will continue as we go forward. There's going to be more opportunities for personal meetings, either outside with social distancing or with masks with social distancing here in the building. So the legacy program, that's the program Ronquel is in. And that is the deeper dive program where a young person is with us for about 900 hours. So anywhere from 8 to 12 months, 32 hours a week. They are mixing their time between classroom activities and on-site work, doing good in the community, building affordable housing, or doing major conservation work for Dane County Parks or City of Madison Parks. So during this time, as I mentioned, we've shut down on-site programming, and we've worked to stay connected with the young people. We've switched to Google Classroom setting. It's focused quite a bit more on the education side of things than the on-site sort of employability training. We worked with MMSD for young people who are connected with that school district to give them Chromebooks, and worked on access as far as internet, and had good success with that. And we've been continuing to be able to graduate participants through that program. It's a rolling enrollment, so people finish when they're done with everything that they need, and they leave with a high school diploma, a driver's license, and a pre-apprenticeship certification in either construction or conservation. So it's been going forward. We are looking forward to sort of the next steps. And
Greg,
yeah,
Sabina was able to log in, so we can actually get her words too now.
yeah. So now we get to hear Sabina say how wonderful engaging virtually has been. Sabina?
Oh, I'm trying to unmute her here. Hang on.
Okay.
There you go.
Hi.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi, Sabina.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
Good. Hey, can you tell us how it's been through this transition in COVID world?
Okay. So yeah, it's been difficult, but well, a few sorry, I'm getting nervous. The first few weeks, it was difficult. For me, well, I don't know. Maybe for others as well. It's just because at the time when we started going to like being at home, doing the homework as well, we needed like a computer as well, and that's the thing that I didn't have for the first few weeks. But I managed to use my phone as well, like getting my work done on time, turn it in, and that's what's more important, right? For getting the stuff done and the work done. So yeah, it was difficult and frustrating at the same time, because obviously I didn't have a computer to work on. But yeah, like I managed to get the things smooth for me. But yeah, that's been, yeah.
And what is some of your next steps?
And my next steps are right now I went to get my diploma.
Yeah.
And currently I'm just waiting for an email to get, like, my next steps are enrolling myself into classes to be in MHC. I got into a program, so being a surgical technologist. So yeah, those are my plans.
Awesome.
starting this fall, this year as well.
Thank
Did
you.
we have, I thought I saw a hand raised. I guess, I mean, that is the other way if folks want to ask a question. Folks could, of course, raise a hand. You know, that Zoom technology. So I think, Sally, did you have a hand raised?
No, I was just clapping. I was just saying thank you, Sabina. So, and good work.
All right, so that was the
Thank you.
clapping mode. That wasn't the hand raise mode. This is why I prefer in-person conversations.
Yeah.
So Sabina, what did you learn about yourself through this?
A lot of things. Well, my time on OFS, obviously there were hard times. The weather, it could be difficult, but I managed to be in there, like, getting through it with not just myself, but with my crew, being together, supporting us, like giving us support as well. But yeah, I guess that's it. And well, as well, like, I saw some change in myself as well, because I know for sure that when I was going to high school or being like, I had time, like hard time to get up on time, going to my classes and stuff like that. And joining this program was like really, I'm really glad that I did it. Why? Because I be more what's that word? Be more responsible, like with my stuff, getting there on time and doing what I have to do, and just yeah. Good
stuff. Thank you, Sabina. I guess one last question. Would you have preferred that COVID didn't happen and you could have continued just the on-site coming to OFS?
Actually, damn it, I miss going to work. I miss going to, like, being with my girl, getting the stuff done and stuff like that. But I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, I still managed to get in contact with my supervisor. So that's, yeah.
All right, neat. Well, thank you. Thanks for answering my questions too. So, a little bit of the information on how Legacy has been going. And as we switch into phase 2, we are able to make some changes to bring young people back to a certain degree. You know, we are looking at still keeping the virtual classroom going somewhat because we still want to try to maintain safety. You know, and if you listen to folks, the safest way to do that is to maintain that distance and not bring people together. So we're going to do a little bit of the virtual classroom still, but we are going to bring people back to do some of the crew work. So sort of that hands-on good work in the community. So we're implementing some things with some staggered crew times, a lot of sanitation and cleaning. We bought this fogger for our vans to sanitize the vans because that was one of the real lynch points is how to transport people safely in vans to the work site. Masks, temperature checks, social distancing. So we're looking at crews probably a bit smaller of 3 to 5 people going out onto a work site rather than 8 to 10. And again, that's largely the vans. So if someone out there wants to donate a bus and a bus driver, that would be great because then we could work with more people on site during this time. So we're excited about being able to change back to that. We're also, I guess, happy that, if there is a spike in COVID and we do have to revert back, we do have all the systems in place so that we can go more virtual as we need to. So one thing which our young people are going to be working on is sort of that other aspect of racial equity in the community. We will be working in a partnership with Urban League, working on Black home ownership. So our young people are going to be working on houses which the Urban League is actually buying and then having us rehab some of them. And then we'll be selling them to add to the Black home ownership in Dane County. And on the next slide, you'll see why is Madison is one of the worst, Wisconsin is one of the worst states as far as Black home ownership or African-American home ownership. And as many of us might know, is home ownership is one way which many people have established wealth and passed that wealth on to the next generation. So it's a major wealth engine, which, at different times in our country's history, due to redlining or banking practices, it was difficult for Black people to engage in that way of building wealth. So we're really happy to partner with Urban League, to have them ask us to partner on establishing this route for more African-American home ownership in our community. So that's one of the projects which some of those legacy and even the Grad Crew is going to be working on somewhat as we go forward over the next months and into next year even. So all the while we're doing this, as you may know, we moved into our new building about 1.5 years ago. And everything which we're talking about re-engaging and starting to do some of the hands-on work again, that really is only possible because we have this new space. I have no idea how we could have managed doing any of this in our old, very cramped, very, very beat up, very unmanageable space. So for folks who are involved in the capital campaign, thank you. because he made it possible for us to reopen and re-engage in a more productive way. So thank you for being part of that. As we went through the capital campaign, we went through with a promise of having a facility to serve twice as many people, twice as many young people, and we still wish to keep that promise. This has been a tough year. With COVID, we are not going to serve as many people as we had hoped this year. But we do know that going into this year, there were about 4,000 disconnected youth, so youth not engaged in education or in full-time work in Dane County. So we know that the need is there, and we know that we're the only organization in Dane County which singularly focuses on this population. So still this year, we're looking at growing programming. One of the programming areas, which I spoke about a little bit earlier, which we piloted last year and are looking to engage in more fully this year, is the DRIVE program. So as you may know, school districts are not involved in driver's education at the level they were before. It's not part of a normal curriculum which you get when you go to school. So what happens is there's a lot of young people who, if their family doesn't have the $500 to lay down for driver's ed, end up graduating without a high school diploma. In Dane County, that's disproportionately people of color, and it's people who don't have the economic means, obviously, to do that $500 to go through a private driving school. So when you're 17, a driver's license is the ability to drive to the movies. When you're 18, it is the second most often seen qualification for employment. It's a ticket for employment in Dane County. With that, we feel in order for young people to be self-sufficient, one step which we need to work on is having young people over 18 have that driver's license. So we started a DRIVE program. We had a cohort which was going to start in March, and then the world changed. So actually, I think early April was when that cohort was supposed to start. So we are starting it in July. We've changed it where it's going to be totally virtual, which may help us be able to serve a bit more people in a virtual classroom, because you don't have to worry about social distancing in that set. It's a 4-week program. It's a partnership with Four Lakes Driving School. We focus on driver's ed, but then we stuff a lot of others' information and engagement in it. We work on employment and training, resumes, interviews, financial literacy, especially credit and budget, as people might be looking towards buying a car, how to engage with car salespeople, how to deal with insurance, and how to, when you get pulled over, interact with that police officer, of how to do it safely for you and the police officer so everyone leaves that experience healthy and well. Might not feel good, but healthy and well. So we're beginning it this week. We're still looking at serving 30 to 50 young people through the DRIVE program this year. We look forward to making a big difference for those young people. So we're excited about that new program. As we were completing the capital campaign, some of you might have been engaged with around our work in the community with a grant from Hovde Foundation to create a community roadmap for Opportunity Youth. So Opportunity Youth are those young people who might not be engaged, but they have the opportunity to do some good things in the community. And through it, we did focus groups with about 100 young people, and then we engaged different business leaders, different community leaders, the county executive, folks like that, in sort of figuring out what the gaps were for young people to achieve. And through it, we came up with really about 4 different areas for program growth, which is support, sort of that transition, that emotional support as folks move into adulthood, connection, connection with employment, connection with careers and how to choose a career and move forward on that path. That was one of the interesting things in the focus groups is we asked young people, how do you figure out what your next step is? And these are young people who are post high school, but in that 18 to 21 age group. And most of them said, I'll ask my friends. And if you think about it, if everyone's asking their friends, there's this circle of imperfect knowledge. Not that anyone has perfect knowledge, but if everyone just thinks that the way to find this out is to ask your friends, and your friends are asking you, then everyone's sitting there shrugging their shoulders saying, I don't know. Drive program, we also already talked a little bit about that. And then sort of career-specific trainings as we look at broadening strides. So as we're looking to reopen, and that's our top focus, and making sure that we do that well and safely, we're still looking at the needs in the community. So why we're looking at the needs in the community now is really this graph. So the other thing that COVID has affected is our economy. And no group of people feels that more harshly than young people. This graph shows on a national level, and Wisconsin and Madison are probably a little bit better, but this is unemployment for youth. So as you see here, you have generally a continually down slope with, in 2010, the last Great Recession. And what you see is that as economies rebound, youth employment tends to lag behind other sectors. So, as you're seeing into 2013, 2014, much of the economy had rebounded, but youth employment was still lagging. Then if you keep going forward to 2020, we are nationally at approximately 25% unemployment for youth. So some of that might be the 17-year-old who, had a part-time gig at McDonald's, but a lot of that is the 19-year-old trying to survive. And as we look forward as a community, and as the economy tries to rebound, we're going to have to seriously consider the needs of this population so that we don't lose a generation, so that this population has access and opportunities to move forward. So at this time, why we're looking at program growth in our existing programs and or new programs is because of this. Because there has never been in our community, in Operation Fresh Start's 50 years of history, there's never been a time when what we do is more vital and more important to help our community rebound and help each young person have the hope and opportunity and strength to move forward through this. So we will keep going, and we really appreciate your help. Many of you have been engaged as we did go through that capital campaign and believe in what we do. We thank you for everything you've done. Please keep helping. One big way is just to be an advocate for the youth and the youth needs in our community. Financial help, of course, always helps, but just to keep in mind as we move forward as a community that there is a huge need for youth to have an opportunity to succeed so that we don't lose this generation. So I think that's all that I had to say. Are there any questions?
Gregg, I just wanted to say thank you for all that you and your staff and the young people are doing to persevere through this crazy, insane time. And we will come out stronger on the other side if we choose to. And I think that's what we're doing right here. We're choosing to be stronger. So thank you to all of you for your leadership and your support in our community.
Thank you, Lori.
Anytime.
Okay, anything else?
Thank you guys for having my back, through this, through it all, and from the beginning. So I want to say thank you, just to the whole team and everybody at OFS for having my back.
Thank you. You're going to be the ones taking care of us when we're in the nursing home. That's what my daughter always reminds me. I say, honey, I brought you in. I can take you out. She says, Mom, I get to pick your nursing home. Okay, I'll be here.
But we got to come see you guys in the nursing home.
That's right, right.
Hi, Greg and Jody and everyone else. You know, we're all obviously big fans of the work that you're doing. What do you need from us?
That's a good question. I think one of the things that is going to be important is as the conversation turns, and it will, turns from, you know, basic safety and basic needs as we do rebound from COVID, is to keep in the forethought of different people in the community that the youth really are hurting through this. Yeah, I think the hard reality of COVID is, as far as getting sick and or dying, that's an older person issue. So the direct result of the disease is with the older generation. The longer living economic impact of the disease is with that younger generation. And I think it's important for all of us to keep that in people's mind as we go forward. And as a nation and as communities, we're going to have to look at the economic needs and the difficulties around it. You know, and try to find new ways of engaging in that, and ideally hoping young people not just, you know, perhaps achieve marginal employment, but achieve career paths with living wages.
Greg, this is Seth Luntz, and thank you again for all of our collaboration over the years and for all the investment that you do in the community. I'd also like to just take a moment and thank the youth for sharing their voice. I think that you know, they are the opportunity youth. I think that that's their ability to communicate that is absolutely essential to also empower other youth to be able to do the same. So thank you for all of that. I also would just be interested in any lessons that you've learned that might be supporting your expansion in these times. So any of the lessons learned, like through the use of the technology, or have you had any opportunity to think about how those strategies might be able to help you to reach either other corners of the community or a broader community? Because I do think that your efforts are needed outside of just kind of the Madison and Dane County community.
Yeah. So thank you, Seth. For those who don't know, Seth is the leader of the Workforce Development Board locally, a great partner in all that we do. So I appreciate the comments and also the question. So I think that there are lessons that can come from it. You know, we're doing the first drive session virtually, and I think that there's opportunities for more types of either totally virtual and or blended instruction. In that program, in our legacy program, you know, we're looking at what teaching techniques and what platforms worked well for our youth. You know, there's the difficulty of not engaging, but if there's an educational platform which we used, which we can still use on-site in Fresh Start or virtually, I think that there's some opportunities there. So I think that there are some, you know, sort of hardcore how we implement things lessons. So I think that that's part of it. I think the other thing is we realize just how flexible we can be. So just how flexible we can be to the current community conditions and needs. And I think that that's important for, I think many people have realized that during this time, but I think it's important for an organization which has been around for almost 50 years is, we at times probably get set in this opinion of, oh, we do things really well and this is how we do them. But we can be flexible and learn different ways of doing things, and there might be greater efficiency or greater effectiveness in doing things differently, and being able to have that flexibility to adjust to what's going on is really important.
Thank you for that.
Any other questions or comments? Just unmute and let us know.
This is Dave Lonsdorf. When the roadmap that Gregg showed, that I remember helping to develop that. I wonder if there's something that we might want to add to that, given the George Floyd circumstance and all the protests and riots that happened in Madison and across the world, really, and it would be the word protect. One of the things adults often will do for youth is to protect them from various things. We're protecting them from COVID by having all of the cleaning and social distancing. But there was a clear sense in the protests that maybe we should be protecting people of color, especially from the police in particular, but also just various forms of racism. I haven't really given this a whole lot of thought, but it just occurred to me, maybe that's something we might want to look into adding to our roadmap.
Yeah, that's a good point. The roadmap was really drawn about programming, but I think as an organization, and I'd be interested to hear thoughts, one thing that this organization hasn't had as one of the planks of things that it does so much is advocacy, and engaging the community around larger issues facing our youth. And I think that there potentially, and David, you're a board member actually, so you guys get to decide this, but potentially there's a greater role for advocacy around policies or procedures or processes of folks in the community which affect our youth. Our youth meaning opportunity youth in the community. Anything else? No? All right. Well, we can end 9 minutes early. It's okay. No one else had any comments?
I do. How are you guys feeling about everything COVID and your feelings and things like how do you guys feel about this whole situation that's going on?
Oh, well, I can give you my personal feelings, and I've talked with a lot of staff about it, so they might include those feelings in general. Frustrated. Like Sabina said, it's frustrating to not engage the same way. You work through it, you adjust, you make it work. I'm also actually hopeful and excited that we do get to engage a bit more deeply starting next week, so that should be fun. So in that way, I'm excited, but I'm also a little fearful. There's this disease out there, and as executive director, I think all staff feel this way. We want to do whatever we can to make sure that everyone's safe. And I think we've got a really good plan to do that. And an understanding that whatever we do to try to make sure everyone's safe, we can't totally control that everyone's safe. Up to this point, no staff or participants have gotten COVID, and that's great. And we're taking measures to try to make sure that that's the case going forward. And I'm hopeful that we can, but we also Sometimes some things happen out of your control.
Yeah. I just wanted to know how you felt because you guys always ask about us. Like, you always check on us, and nobody ever checks on y'all. So I was like, let me ask him, see how he feels.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
No problem.
All right. I think with that, I think we can close this. Thanks again for being an advocate and a donor or a supporter for our youth in our community. And we will move forward onto brighter days. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you again, everyone.
Thanks for having me. And congratulations, Sabina.